6 a.m., the kind of cold that bites through your jacket before you even step off the porch. I heard the bulldozers before I saw them, low rumbling across the pasture, shaking the ground my grandfather broke with horses back in 1952. And there she was, Linda Carver, standing at the edge of my land in designer heels that had never touched honest dirt, waving court papers like a victory flag she hadn't earned yet. "This little hobby farm ends today, Mr. Hart." She smiled when she said it, like she'd already won. What Linda didn't know, what she couldn't see, was that beneath her perfectly polished shoes sat the one thing that would destroy her entirely. She just hadn't found out yet. My name is Mason Hart. This land has been in my family since 1952, 47 acres of Colorado pasture where 3 generations of Harts raised cattle, survived brutal winters, and built something real with their bare hands. 2 years before Linda showed up, I lost my wife Emily to cancer. 43 years of marriage, gone in 18 months of hospitals and false hope. After her funeral, this ranch was the only thing keeping me standing. Every morning I fed 23 head of Black Angus cattle. Every evening I walked the fence lines where her laughter used to drift across the grass. This wasn't just land, it was everything she and I built together. Then Willowbrook Estates appeared, a brand new subdivision that popped up on what used to be Henderson's wheat farm. Perfect lawns, identical mailboxes, HOA rules thicker than a phone book. Most of the new neighbors were decent people, but every development has its queen of control. That's where Linda Carver walked in, former corporate lawyer from Denver, perfectly manicured nails that had never touched real dirt, a luxury car worth more than most people make in a year, living 800 yards from my nearest pasture. Apparently, that still wasn't far enough. 3 weeks after she moved in, the first letter arrived, certified mail, crisp and legal, threatening action over livestock odors damaging property values. I pulled every property record, zoning document, and agricultural exemption I could find. My land predated their entire subdivision by decades. I had protections older than Linda's law degree. She didn't care. Next came the nuisance lawsuit, health hazards, noise pollution, claims that my gentle Angus cattle were somehow a public menace, while her yappy designer dog made more noise than my entire herd combined. Then she packed a town council meeting with Willowbrook residents who had never once set foot on a working ranch. Linda's performance was award-worthy. Claims of groundwater contamination with zero evidence, dramatic speeches about children being in danger from cattle gentler than house cats. The local paper ate it up. They ran a story calling me a stubborn old fool blocking progress. Then the restraining order hit, a 500-foot buffer zone that turned a third of my own pasture into forbidden ground overnight. I had to send 8 head of cattle to emergency auction for a fraction of their value, $12,000. Gone like morning mist. I stood in that empty pasture thinking about Emily, thinking about everything we had sacrificed to keep this place alive, and I made a decision. If Linda wanted to play by the rule book, I was going to read every single page of it. While Linda was celebrating with mimosas, I was spending late nights in the county records office under flickering fluorescent lights. Miss Alvarez, the elderly clerk, would bring me coffee and quietly point me toward filing cabinets most people forgot existed. "Sometimes the old documents tell the best stories," she would say with a knowing smile. She was more right than she knew. First, I found Linda's violations. That rustic stone fence she bragged about in a lifestyle magazine. 6 feet over the setback line. Clear code violation. Her landscape lighting violated dark sky ordinances. Her decorative pond needed environmental permits she had never bothered to get. I filed 3 separate complaints the next morning, everyone documented cleanly, because in these fights, you win with proof, not emotion. Linda got her first lesson. County enforcement doesn't disappear just because you drive a luxury car. But that wasn't even the real discovery. The more I dug, the deeper it got, and what I found next changed everything. Buried in survey maps so old they smelled like history, I found something nobody in Willowbrook knew existed. My property included subsurface mineral rights, extending not just under my ranch, but under the entire Willowbrook development, dating all the way back to the 1890s, mining claims that were never properly transferred when the land changed hands. Miss Alvarez pointed to tiny annotations most people overlooked and said, almost amused, "Your great-grandfather was sharper than folks gave him credit for. I borrowed geological surveying equipment from an old college friend. Core sampling confirmed limestone deposits beneath the valley worth roughly $2.8 million in quarrying rights. I didn't want to quarry anything, I wanted to ranch. But what I owned beneath that ground gave me something more powerful than money. It gave me leverage that no zoning board could touch. Linda found out on a Tuesday morning. I know because the county clerk called me first. Mr. Hart," Miss Alvarez said, lowering her voice, "you might want to know that Mrs. Carver is very upset." I could hear heels clicking fast and angry against tile all the way through the phone. Within 48 hours, the county froze all major construction and development in the affected area pending resolution of the mineral rights. That included Linda's precious Phase 3 expansion, 50 new homes, a playground, a retail strip, all of it, frozen in legal amber. The HOA Facebook group exploded. Neighbors stopped caring about the smell of cattle and started asking who cost them their retirement plans. Linda called a community meeting, Friday night, Willowbrook Clubhouse. I walked in alone. She launched into her speech, safety, community standards, one man holding an entire neighborhood hostage. She never mentioned the lawsuits she filed, never mentioned the permits she violated, never mentioned the mineral rights, until someone in the back stood up and asked loudly why Phase 3 had been canceled. That's when I stood up. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse anyone. I just told the truth. The restraining order, the forced auction, the septic permit she weaponized while I was sitting in hospital waiting rooms during Emily's chemotherapy, the midnight inspections, all of it. And then I said this, I don't want to quarry this land. I want to ranch it. But I will not be bullied off property my family worked for 74 years. The room went silent. Then a woman named Janice stood up and asked Linda directly, "Is it true HOA funds were used to pay for your lawsuits?" Linda's mouth opened, then closed. Mark stared at the floor. The meeting ended early. By Monday, Linda resigned from the HOA board. Personal reasons, they said. 2 weeks later, Mark listed their house. The price was ambitious. The listing lingered. Buyers don't love unresolved legal clouds, especially ones rooted in the 1890s. The county dropped every nuisance action against me. The tax audit closed with a letter of apology. The local paper ran a follow-up. This time, less flattering to Linda's suburban narrative. Their house sold eventually, 12% below asking price. No farewell, no apology, just absence. That evening, I walked the fence line as the sun dipped low and painted the pasture gold, the same fence line where Emily's laughter used to drift across the grass. And I understood something. Linda thought she was fighting a rancher. She was actually fighting history. And history doesn't lose to someone who mistakes power for permanence. If someone tried to take everything you built, everything you loved, what would you do? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this story hit different, hit subscribe, because there's more where this came from.